Are we ready in the boardroom? All right,
Yes.
excellent. Thank you. All right, I call to order the WTA Board of Directors meeting for Thursday, June 18th, 2026. Vicky, can we start with roll call, please?
Yes, Buchanan.
Here.
Do we have board member Cotton online? Looks like not yet. Hawkinson,
Here.
Fortice,
Here.
Lilyquist,
Here.
Reinstrad,
Here.
Stewart,
Here.
Darwin,
Present.
and we have board members Lautenbach and Lund absent, and
Jake's just on.
board member Cotton is present. Thank you.
Thank you. Item C, public comment. Each speaker is allowed a maximum of 3 minutes on any topic relevant to WTA. Is there anyone online who would like to unmute and address the board? Please do so now. Is there anyone in person who would like to address the board? All right, item D, board action, consideration of setting a public hearing on the Transportation Improvement Program. Aaron.
Well, that's me. Good morning. This is one of our annual kind of housekeeping items. We are requesting that the Board of Directors set a public hearing for the July 16th board meeting to receive public comment on WTA's Transportation Improvement Program. And just really briefly for new members, this is one of our annual requirements as a part of our grant funding. We need to have our projects listed in our Transportation Improvement Program that then get sent to our Whatcom Council of Governments to be included in the state Transportation Improvement Program to be able to submit our grant applications and receive that funding. And the first step of that is setting a public hearing, and the tip will be made available in advance of that for the public to review, comment for you all to see before the July 16th meeting.
I'll move approval. Second. Something.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Questions or comment? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Thank you. Item E, consent agenda.
Move approval. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. F1, Community Van Grant Program update.
I'll just take the moment to introduce Malcolm Duncan Graves. He's our transportation planning coordinator. He will be giving the presentation this morning. I'll give him a second to set up the slides, but this is we have surplus vans that we provide to the community every year or so, depending upon when we have vans available. So he's going to provide the annual update to the last year's van grant distribution. So with that, he's ready. I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you, Tim. So as Tim said, I will be giving a quick overview of the past year's service as part of this community van grant program. Why is it not letting me click through? There you go. So looking at the program history and the program structure, some of you may already know this, some of you may not. The way this program works is we take surplus rideshare vehicles based on the Washington state standards. These are vehicles that are either been in service for 4 years or 100,000 miles. And then we get applications from nonprofits and 501c3s, vet those applications thoroughly, select nonprofits, and these nonprofits receive title ownership, and they're meant to provide service to the community, maintain the vehicles, maintain insurance for the vehicles, and then provide monthly reporting for a year on these vehicles. The vehicles previous to being sent out to nonprofits have received regular preventative maintenance from the WTA. They're by no means past their lifespan in the community, but they're past what we would consider their useful lifespan for the WTA. In 2019, we gave away 3 vehicles. Again, in 2021, we gave away 3 vehicles to nonprofits. On the left, you can see an image of us giving away a vehicle to Vamos Outdoors during COVID. Everyone is masked up. And then in this past round of the program, we had the opportunity to give away a total of 11 vehicles to nonprofits, which was a great opportunity. Looking at the goals of the program, there's three main goals. The first goal is to fill gaps in transportation. As you know, we have fixed route service, paratransit, and rideshare. And while these services provide great opportunities for the community, they're not necessarily able to fit all of the transportation needs of the community. And so this is allowing us to provide nonprofits with smaller vehicles to provide a very niche service that we may not be able to provide otherwise, whether it's connecting people from low-income housing out in the county to grocery stores in Bellingham, or taking students from schools to after-school programs in ways that fixed route may not be able to. The next goal we have with this program is supporting priority populations, so low income, the youth, elderly, and minority groups. And all of the nonprofits we selected aim at providing services to these communities. And then finally, the last goal is aiming to build community connections. So not only are we building connections with nonprofits who are reporting to us for an entire year, we're also building connections with individuals who are utilizing these services and generally know that these are vehicles provided by the WTA. I'll just talk quickly about the community needs. So in the last round of this program, we received over 50 applications, 47 of which met the requirements, meaning they were 501c3s. They showed that they were transporting clients and that they were able to do that. And I'm regularly receiving phone calls from nonprofits and other organizations asking if this program is still running. And I just say this to show that there is this community need. And while we're able to meet some of that need, we're not always able to meet the entirety of it. So looking at the nonprofits we selected on the left, you can see the list of the 11 nonprofits we selected in this round of the program. We aim to select nonprofits that provided services to a wide range of those priority populations, whether it's youth programming, low-income programming, or programming for minority groups. And then you can see on the right, we tried to provide vehicles to nonprofits throughout the county. So we selected some nonprofits in Bellingham, out in Lummi Nation, Ferndale, Linden, and then up in Blaine as well. Just looking at some of the stats for the last year of service, we had about 10,000 passenger trips, about 20,000 miles, and just over 100,000 passenger miles. This is nowhere near what you would expect on fixed route, but we know that these miles are going towards priority populations and they are having a significant community impact, which I'll talk about shortly. And then again, this is just some more information on the usage. On the left, you can see passenger trips by nonprofit. There's a wide range of the passenger trips by nonprofit. Wild Whatcom was an example of a nonprofit that heavily utilized this vehicle. They had over 2,000 trips in the last year. And some of our other nonprofits were in the hundreds. And then on the right, you can see the passenger trips or passenger miles by month. So our winter months are generally going to be our lower usage months, though some of our nonprofits are utilizing those vehicles during those times to take people to warming shelters. And then our summer months, when the weather's nice like it is today, we had the highest usage. And finally, I'll just give a quick overview of the community impact. So I was getting reports from these nonprofits every single month, and I would regularly get emails from nonprofit program managers just describing how much they appreciated these vehicles and the impact they were having on the community. And I'll give a quick three examples. So the first one is from Common Threads. They provide cooking and gardening classes throughout the county to youth. And they described how they were able to use their vehicle to transport their staff out to schools throughout the county and provide over 3,000 students, almost 4,000, with 1,000 cooking and gardening classes, some of them at gardens that they help manage throughout the community. Road to Home utilized their vehicle to transport individuals at the housing that they provide. And one of those individuals had lost two family members while they were receiving services from Road to Home, and they were able to use their vehicle to transport that individual to the grocery store and other facilities that they wouldn't have otherwise been able to, and it's reducing those barriers for that individual. And then finally, Ferndale Community Services was able to transport a family from a cold weather shelter to long-term housing. And that was something that they wouldn't have otherwise been able to do without this vehicle. And so these are just three examples. There's many more that I received throughout this year of running this program. And it's just examples of how much impact this is having on individuals. Something else I forgot to say was just looking at the cost of this program. So the vehicles were 2011 through 2014 rideshare vehicles. They were well past their useful lifespan, though they did still have some value. If these vehicles were to have been surplus, they had an estimated value between $8,000 and $15,000, and a total estimated value of about $130,000. And throughout this year, these vehicles have been used and they continue to be used by nonprofits. None of the nonprofits have notified us that they're looking to sell the vehicles at this point. I'm happy
I'll just add that this is almost no cost to WTA. We get these vans through a state grant. And that provides what, 80% of, I think, of the cost. We pay 20%. So basically we get almost all of our value out of the vans. And so there's no operational cost for us. The organizations provide the drivers, provide their own insurance, they maintain the vehicles, they fuel the vehicles. So really, it's a pretty simple, easy program for us to leverage services out in the community. So
I'm happy to take any questions if you guys have any about the program as well. Yeah, Jessica.
Yeah.
Malcolm, do you mind stop sharing so we can
Yeah,
see the?
sorry.
Thanks. No, it's okay. Thank you.
Can be really big this way. Perfect. Thank you so much, Malcolm. That is a really phenomenal program, and I just get really proud when I hear about this kind of work that's being done. I had a couple of questions that came up as you were talking, and maybe I can follow up with you more at offline as well. But curious about like when potentially the next round of applications might open, noting that 11 were given out in 2024, if that's something we see happening again in 2026. And then really appreciated the use kind of report overview that was given from each of those nonprofits that were using it. I was wondering if that map that shows where those vehicles were allocated to, if that's available for the years prior as well in 21 and 19, just because I'm a little bit focused on some of these areas that have less access to WTA services overall, like out in East County. I didn't see any there, but I also know there's probably a balance of looking for the number of need and the number of use versus the access to different geographic regions, but curious a little bit about that. And then if there's a specific application or kind of algorithm that you use aside from the 501c3 priority for that.
Yeah, so to answer the first question, currently we don't have any vehicles that are going to be at their useful lifespan limit in terms of 100,000 miles by 2026. The next possible would be 2027, and then they would have to be board approved for this use instead of just regular surplus. The previous years, I can tell you who has received vehicles. 2021 was Lighthouse Mission, Vamos Outdoors, and then WCEMS. And 2019 was Guru Nanak, Northwest Youth Services, and Skookum Kids. And I can talk a little bit about the way that we grade the nonprofits. We have a structure that we go through, and there was a panel of people that looked at all of the applications. We grade them first based off community benefit or perceived community benefit. That's about 40% of the rating. 30% of the rating is estimated trips, which the estimated trips generally vary wildly from the actual trips, and it's hard to know what the actual trips will be. Um, the coordination of services is another thing we look at. So whether they're connecting people to fixed route service with this span, and then their ability to administer the program is 10% of the value. And then finally, just the clarity of the application is the final thing that we look at.
Thank you so much. That's really helpful. And again, I'm really grateful for this work. I think it's a phenomenal program.
Michael and then Barry.
Yeah, thank you. So speaking of rides actually generated, I noticed that many of them had around 400 or 500 trips per year. I'm thinking that a trip or two every day, and that sounds like a really reasonable number. There was one outlier. What are the lessons learned there? Did they misunderstand the program? Did we misunderstand their use? Or did things just turn out to be different than everyone was expecting for, uncontrolled reasons?
I think that was an example of different than expected for uncontrolled reasons. Their expected trips were much higher than their actual trips, and there's no way of us actually knowing what their end trips will be. And part of it for them was their ability to manage the program. They had set up some structure for managing the program, and they described that in the application, but their end use ended up being much different from their expected use. And so they were just struggling to connect it was campus or compass to campus, and they were struggling to connect the admin services with the individuals at the Western facility out into the community, and they were just struggling to find drivers and facilitate that.
So it sounds like a one-off thing, not something we could necessarily see.
Yeah, and in the previous rounds, there's been some discrepancy between expected trips and the actual trips, but this is far and away the most we've experienced.
Thanks.
Barry?
Not a question. I just wanted to comment on how awesome this program is. I just think it's so great to use creativity for our community benefit, and I really think this is awesome. So good job.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Item F2, recap of state auditors exit conference. Erin.
Yes, hello again. So one of our other annual compliance requirements is our audit. The state auditor's office comes in every year. Actually, they don't come in anymore. It's all remote. But once a year they perform. We actually have 3 audits that we complete: an accountability audit, a financial statement audit, and a federal grant compliance audit. We had our exit conference last Tuesday. Even if you weren't able to attend, hopefully you received the invite that had attached their exit conference document. The one thing I'll highlight, the accountability audit is the one that can kind of change each year given on risks in the state, risks that they see for us, or just things they want to review that they haven't in a while. So the things that they focused on this year was payroll, gross wages, overtime. Vanessa's team really helped us out with that. Tracking and monitoring of theft sensitive assets such as tools and equipment, which Kim's team really helped us out with that. Treasury activities, annual report submission, open public meetings they look at every year, and financial condition. And I'm very pleased to report that we've received our 29th consecutive clean audit. So got some really good cooperation, feedback, recommendations, but it was another clean audit. So feels really good to be able to report that to y'all. So happy to answer any questions about the process or what's next or anything like that, but it was another good year.
I could just give kudos to Erin in particular, but also the team that she identified that helped, that the relationship that and approach that Erin takes with the auditors of it being a way to help us. We talk about get real, get better, and it's a way to help us get better. That approach pays a lot of dividends with the auditors because it's a cooperative, let's learn environment, and as opposed to gotcha, kind of thing. And so Erin deserves a lot of credit, as does the team she identified in moving this for. You've been here for over 10 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jessica?
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. I'd echo all that. Congratulations. That's hard work. And really, I feel like maybe a bit unheard of to have that many a succession of just great audits. Just because I'm new to this space and also wasn't able to join the exit meeting, was there any recommendation that came up this year that was different than things that were already on the radar or items from years past? Anything new or different that we weren't maybe expecting?
I would say we learned something new. So we present comparative financial statements, which means we do the prior year and the current year. And the thing that flagged that is once we do that, then we are required to present comparative notes, which just makes our annual report really long, in my opinion, a little cumbersome. Notes are helpful, but they can be not the most exciting thing to get through. We learned that we don't have to do that. And it's actually really rare to do that. That really the beginning section of our annual report is called the management discussion and analysis section. And that's really where we can dive into variances, looking at trends from year to year. And so I think if we could talk less into it, we're gonna move towards moving those comparative data into that section and then to simplify our financial statements, which will be awesome. So that was a new thing that we learned this year.
Amazing. Thank you.
Michael?
Yeah, so I don't read the annual report document, but it sounds like you just mentioned this section up front.
Yep.
Is it brief enough and at a high level that might be useful to the board, or is it in the weeds?
I would say it tells a good story, and really that's one of the changes that the Governmental Accounting Standards Board is making this year. The GASB comes out with their new pronouncements every year for reporting requirements, and enhancements to that section are going to be required this year. And really they want the story. They don't want it to be bogged down in just numbers that we can all see, but really telling the story of why did we differ from budget? Why did we differ from last year? And so I think we're going to try really hard to make it a really useful document for you to
How
read.
many pages will that section be?
With the requirements, it's still like a dozen pages. It's still pretty long. We'll try and do lots of graphs though.
Just in terms of financial oversight, I'm not trying to assign everybody, all the board members new documents, but if it does stay a high level, then maybe it is board appropriate. I don't have to consider reading the report.
Yep, absolutely. And it actually is, you'll be able to see what's currently required. They're getting published today. And so we'll send out that email so you can take a quick peek and see what's there. And then, going forward, that would be the place to look. Make it as useful as possible.
I think that's a great highlight of the relationship that Erin has with them, is because they're looking to help us. And things like the Government Accounting Standards Board, the accounting rules change and how you assess contracts and all those kinds of things. And getting that advice throughout the year and heading in sure helps a lot.
I'm sorry, final follow up on that. Yeah. When will that section be written and how does that align with our budget cycle? Because it might be not, even if it's a 4-year-old, a 4-month-old document, it might be something that would come forward with the budget in September. When's budget come forward?
Usually October is our first.
That might be more useful at that time, even if it's retrospective and out of date.
Sure.
Again, I'm assigning the whole board work, sorry.
That's a great suggestion. It is kind of off a year. We write it for the previous year, looking ahead in about March. So
Context settings.
Yeah, it absolutely.
They took out $104. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Ally, one thing, we have a public comment for an individual who arrived late because our bus was running late.
Doesn't happen very often.
Doesn't happen often, but yes. So if we could take that at some point in the agenda as we're wrapping up, please.
Sounds good. Right. Any other questions or comments about the audit? Thanks, Erin.
Thank you.
We'll go back to public comment. If you'd like to stand or approach the table so we can hear you. You have up to 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's almost a good thing the bus was late because I fell asleep in my right ear. My left ear has zero hearing. I started to sleep to my alarm. And I got down to the depot like 4 minutes late. It's not impossible, the bus is running late. Then I'm here ridiculously late. But in the past, there's been at least one meeting here, and people were asking for like phone calls. My left vocal cord is now fully paralyzed, so I can't speak loudly. I think I'm getting by right now, and there are times when I can't speak at all. But is anyone here familiar with the Medicare Advantage plan? Don't let me sub-tangent. They took out the piece of my brain in terms of impulse control. I have to watch it. Medicare Advantage plan started ballpark 3 years ago. If you're on disability or Social Security, I'm not sure what percentage of people are on the Medicare Advantage plan. But basically, when it started out, a catalog was mailed to you, and there's like an allowance of $180 a month, and you could select $180 worth of healthy products from this catalog. There are certain foods you can't order ice cream or candy bars, but it could be like protein, vitamins. I have a feeding tube surgically implanted in my stomach due to my vocal cord paralysis. I have to buy nutritional drink or quote unquote buy nutritional drinks to give myself a tube feeding. After the Medicare Advantage plan had been in effect for a year or so, 1 January, the powers that be took it down to $159 a month because they're saving millions of dollars nationwide, which is understandable. The next year, they took it down to $146. Last December, after I was finished placing my $146 order, the person that's receiving your order, they have a brief little spiel. They're all very nice. Most of them are Asian quick talkers, but they're all very nice. I thought she told me that in January I'd be receiving $142, as though the government has found a level that everyone can live with. Turns out they took it down to $42 a month. So if you are on the Medicare Advantage plan, as of last January, you are indirectly $104 a month poorer than you were the month before. So I understand that there's zero chance that moving the fare cap from $15 to $20 is going to help WTA meet their needs. So I'm hoping I'm hoping WTA will seriously consider the possibility of trying a trial period where they move the fare cap to $25 a month. And after 6 months to a year, or 3 months or 9 months, once you actually see what money is coming in versus your estimates, you can decide if you can leave it at $25 a month indefinitely, or you can say, sorry, we need to move the fare cap to $30 a month. And this may or may not be accurate, but I had like a chat with the AI system on the computer at the library, and I paid to photocopy it. It mentioned something about 60 to 75% of the seniors disabled residents are on the program. I refuse to treat that as fact. I've learned from experience that AI is wrong. It's possible someone here could be in a better position to research how many disabled residents or elderly residents, $104 a month. And this is not, I can give you people this, like photocopy of the conversation I had with the AI. It mentioned rationale for the WTA board. It claims moving the cap from 15 to 25 would prevent ridership drop-off. I'm not sure I believe this. I even wrote here, the statement might be fact or could just be AI speculation. But it claims when transit prices double, lower income residents stop riding because they simply do not have the cash. I very strongly question that theory, but it's not entirely weightless. And it goes on to say the $25 cap keeps riders on the bus, ensuring the WTA still collects fare revenue rather than losing the rider completely. So I'm not claiming that's fact, but since it backs up my wish, I'm throwing it out there.
Thank you very much.
Anyone wants to ask me any questions afterwards, that's fine. But I have zero impulse control right now because I'm overslept, so I want to cut it off. Thank you.
Thank you. Item G, other business? Go ahead.
Just one thing for the board, we looked at the agenda for July and we think we can do it all in one meeting on July 16th. So respectfully recommend we cancel the July 2nd meeting. If you all are okay with taking an hour of your Thursday right before the 4th.
Sounds good to me.
You can make it work. Okay, so we'll send out a notice canceling that meeting.
Okay. Any other announcements?
Is he able to read?
We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah,